Good afternoon, students. So, from yesterday, we have started physiology practicals pertaining to blood, that is, hematology practicals. So, in today's practical class, we will see about hemocytometer or hemocytometry and osmotic fragility test, that is, the test relating to the RBC, red blood cell. So, what is hematology? It is a branch of science that deals with the study of blood. The word heme means blood and logos is study. So it is primarily concerned with the study of formed elements of blood. So these things you all know in your intermediate itself. Just brief review. So the key points to know in this class is what is hemocytometer, the uses of hemocytometer and principle of cell counting using Newbar's slides and common sources of error during the process of hemocytometry, and also lastly we will see the osmotic fragility test. So hemocytometer. Hemo means blood, cyto means cell, meter or metry is measuring or counting the cells. So blood cell counting or blood cell measurement. So this is the meaning of hemocytometer. So it is a device originally designed and usually used for counting blood cells. So the hemocytometer is a specimen slide which is used to determine the concentration of cells in a liquid sample. Okay, hemocytometer is a specimen slide. That means a glass slide which is used to take the specimen, which determines the concentration of cells in a liquid sample. Liquid sample is anything that is liquid. So normally we will take here the blood mixed with diluting fluid. It has a rectangular indentation that creates a chamber. Okay, rectangular indentation will be present that creates a chamber. So we will see in the coming slide the picture. The device is carefully crafted so that area bounded by the lines is known and depth of the chamber is also known. Given the known parameters, it is possible to count the number of cells or particles in a specific volume of fluid and thereby calculate the concentration of cells in the fluid overall. So, known parameters means if we know the area and volume, we can calculate the number of cells easily. So, how to calculate that we will see in the coming slides. The hemocytometer is frequently used to determine the concentration of blood cells, hence the name hemo. Okay, so this equipment or this hemocytometer is especially used to count the number of cells, blood cells, and it can also be used for other samples like sperm cells. The cover glass which is placed on the sample does not simply float on the liquid but is held in place at a specific height, usually 0.1 mm. So this is the depth of the or height of the Newbar's chamber. So what is the Newbar's chamber? We will see now. And additionally a grid is etched into the glass of the hemocytometer. So this grid, an arrangement of squares of different sizes, allows for easy counting of cells. So this is the counting grid. It is etched on the glass or the slide of hemocytometer. So this is an arrangement of squares of different sizes which allows for easy counting of cells. This way it is possible to determine the number of cells in a specified volume. The fluid containing the cells must be appropriately prepared before applying it to the hemocytometer. So the fluid, that is suppose the blood or sperm fluid containing the cells, it must be prepared by suppose diluting. We should dilute concentrated blood, liquid blood. We can't count the cells. So we should dilute it before applying it to the hemocytometer. And the fluid should be homogeneous suspension. Cells that stick together in clumps are difficult to count and they are usually not evenly distributed. So that's why we should properly mix the sampling or the liquid sample, that is blood or sperm, with a diluting fluid. And the material required for counting the cells are first and foremost is microscope, a compound microscope, and then the Newbar's hemocytometer box. We will be having Newbar's slides, cover slip, cover glass, diluting pipettes, and the cell suspension, that is the sample, blood sample or sperm. And this hemocytometer box, so this is a white colored box written on that hemocytometer. In this box we will be having these things. Okay, one Newbar slide. This is not like a normal slide.
It is very thick slide. Okay, so on this slide the name is also etched like improved Newbar's chamber. Okay, so when we call this slide as chamber means when we put a cover slip on the central part. Okay, so the head shaped groove will be present on that. If we put a cover glass, then it will be converted to chamber. Otherwise it is called simply Newbar slide. And these two are the diluting pipettes. Okay, one RBC pipette and one WBC pipette, and then a cover slip and cover glass, cover slip or cover glass. So we will see about Newbar slide. So this is a thick glass slide with two ruling areas on the center. Ruling areas are separated by head-shaped trough. Beyond trough, there are two raised arms to support the cover glass or cover slip. Lining is coated by shiny metal or rhodium, so that the cover grid area is coated by shiny metal or rhodium, and Newbar slide with a cover slip over it is called Newbar's chamber. Okay, as I have told you, no, Newbar slide, when it is covered with a cover slip, it is called Newbar's chamber. Okay, don't confuse with these two words. Newbar slide is without cover slip and Newbar's chamber is with cover slip. Okay, you can see in this picture, this is a uh, central part of the Newbar slide on which two ruling counting grid areas are present. Okay, see 9 boxes, 9 squares here, 9 squares here. So this is one counting grid area and this is one counting grid area. And this is a head-shaped groove or head-shaped trough. On both the sides of this head-shaped trough, we have somewhat elevated edges so that the cover slip will be supported. So the elevated edges will support the cover slip, and this will create a chamber or a space, okay, whose height will be 0.1 mm height. Okay, so this is the depth or volume of the Newbar's chamber. Okay, and we know the area in which we are counting the cells. So the area of the each counting grid counting grid will be 3 mm square. So this side 3 mm, this side 3 mm. So 3 mm square is area, and volume will be 0.1 mm. So this is, you can see the name written on this, Newbar improved. Okay, this word you should remember. Why improved means previously the whatever Newbar slide is there, that has been modified a little bit. Okay, so because of that modifications, the name is improved Newbar slide or Newbar chamber. So you can see here that beside the head-shaped trough, there are elevated parts are there. These two, okay, one here, one here. So these two will support the cover slip, and on the above the central part, central platform, one above and one below, two counting grid areas are present. Each scale is 3 mm wide and 3 mm long. So area will be 3 mm square and depth of the chamber is 0.1 mm, and the whole scale or whole slide is divided, the area, scale means counting grid area, it is divided into 9 big squares. Each square is 1 mm long and 1 mm wide. So out of the total 9 squares, each square area will be 1 mm square. Okay, you can see this picture shows clearly. So one above, one below the counting grid area. Okay, so total 9 squares, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so this is the total. So don't look into the again subsquares. So first total 9 squares, and each square is the corner squares. Out of the total 9, the corner 1, 2, 3 and 4. So it is written W here, no? So these 4 corner squares are used for counting WBC, W for WBC, white blood cells. And in the central part, okay, so this central most square is there, no? So this is used to count red blood cells. R is for red blood cells. So out of these
in the central square again we have 25 small squares. If you can see clearly, 25 small squares we are having. These out of these 25 we will be using only the 4 corners and 1 central. So this out of this 25 squares we are using 5 squares for counting the RBCs. Okay, so 4 large squares for counting WBC and 5 medium squares for counting RBC. So for now you remember WBC counting squares and RBC counting squares in the counting grid out of the total 9 squares. Okay. So the 4 corner squares are further divided into 16 small squares and are used for WBC counting. So total 64 small squares are there which have a dimension of 0.25 mm into 0.25, that is 0.0625 mm. So in the 4 corner squares, one square is 1 mm square, and again each square is divided into 16. So the area of each small square will be 0.25 mm into 0.25 mm. Central square is divided into 25 medium-sized squares and are separated by triple lines. The medium-sized square are further divided into 16 small squares. So these are tiny. So 16 small squares in WBC, those are different, and in RBC square, and out of the 25 medium, each square, this 25, each square is divided again into 16 small squares. So very tiny. The 4 corners and central squares are used for cell counting. So you can see in this picture clearly. So this is total counting grid area. So 9 mm square. This is whole is 3. Okay, this one box is 1 into 1. And this one small box is 0.25 into 0.25. And you can see in the inside this RBC central square. There are 25, no? So each square is again divided into 16 small squares. So you will be using 4 corners and 1 central square for RBC. So this smallest square area will be 0.05 into 0.05. Okay, so this is for WBC, the medium square will be 0.25. Okay, so remember these values. So these will be helpful for calculating the cells. So remember this red colored one is for big square, one big square, and green color is for one medium square. Medium square for WBC, and yellow colored one is for medium square for RBC, and blue colored one is very small tiny square for RBC. Okay, so the dimensions are 1 into 1. You can see from this table. Area into volume, we will get 1 mm square into 0.1 mm 100 nanoliter. Okay, so like this the calculations you should keep in mind for calculating the various cell count like RBC, WBC, platelets, etc. And the cover slides, special cover glass with smooth surface and even thickness. So the thickness varies like 0.3, 0.4, 0.5 mm, and length also varies 16 into 22 mm and 22 into 23 mm. Like this, in these variations the cover slip or cover glasses are present. So you can see in these various shapes, rectangular, square, circle and very small circles are present. So commonly we will be using these type of cover slips. And next, the pipettes. The names of the pipettes are Thomas pipette, and we will also say that WBC and RBC pipette. It consists of graduated capillary tube, mixing bulb with glass bead and aspirating tube. The parts of pipette are stem, bulb and rubber tube. And these two are RBC and WBC pipettes. So the differences between two are RBC pipette has a red bead and WBC pipette has a white bead. And the RBC pipette has graduations up to 101 mark. Okay, 0.5, 1 and 101 marks, and WBC pipette has graduation marks up to 11. And RBC pipette, the size of bulb is larger, and WBC size of bulb is smaller. And RBC pipette, size of the lumen is smaller, and here it is larger. Okay, so remember these 4 differences between the RBC and WBC pipette. These will be asked as Viva questions. Okay, you can see in this picture, this is the bulb, this is the stem part, and this is the bead, and this will be attached to a rubber tube, and finally the mouthpiece will be present. So in this stem part we have 0.5 here, and then 1 here, and then 101. So these 3 markings are for calculating purpose. Okay, this is for RBC pipette, and for WBC pipette the markings are 0.5, 1 and 11. So the lumen of the pipette is broader in WBC, narrow in RBC. So for example, for WBC counting, 0.5 part of blood is mixed in 10 parts of fluid. Okay, so 10 parts means only the fluid present in the bulb we are taking. Okay, 11 here, this one, from this 11 we are removing 1 because this stem part does not come into bulb. This does not contain any blood. The blood is present only in the bulb, blood and the fluid. So 1 part of blood . So after pipetting, and then we need to charge the fluid which is present in the pipette. That is, with the pipette we should take the blood till 0.5 and then the diluting fluid till 101 or 11, and then the fluid will be mixed in the bulb part. So that fluid we should charge over the Newbar's chamber. So that charge slide we should place under the microscope. Okay, so this microscope we have 3 types of objects. One is low power, one is high power, and then last one is oil immersion objective. So focus must be 4x to see the general formation of slide, and 10x for WBC counting. So this is low power, 10x, and 40x is for RBC or platelet counting. So this is high power. So 4x we don't use and we don't have in our microscopes. So like this we need to place the Newbar's chamber with the cover slip. So after charging we should place it over the microscope, and then we should focus under low power and then high power. So low power is for WBC counting, high power is for RBC or platelet counting. So the view at 10x objective, using 10x or low power objective, we will be able to see 9 squares. Okay, and with high power objective we will be able to see only 1 square. Okay, either WBC or RBC square. Okay, in this high power we should count the number of cells. Okay, so counting the cells in 4 corners and the central square, only in that squares we should count the, and we should not count the cells which touch the bottom line and right. This is the microscopic view of the cells. When focusing under the objectives, we can see the cells like this. Okay, so in the RBC, these are the RBCs. In 25 medium squares, we are able to see 1 medium square, and in each medium square is again divided into 16 small squares, right? Okay, so each square, how to count means the cells which are inside and the cells which are on the top and left borders. Only these 2 borders we should take into this cell, like that for other cell, because if we take all the 4 sides there will be double counting of cells will happen, and that will give rise to false high count of cells. Oh, so to avoid that error we are taking the cells which are present inside and then top and left borders of each square. Like that we should count all the squares in a zigzag manner to avoid any error. So how many medium squares we have to count? For RBC, 4 corners and 1 central square. Okay, So by using the triple lines, you can identify the RBC squares. So like this it will be. So this is WBC square. The green colored ones are the top and left borders on which the cells present on these borders we should count, and the red borders right and bottom we should not count. So the same applies for RBC squares also. So 1, 2, 3, 4 are for WBC and 5 is for RBC, and in 5 again 5 medium squares, 4 corner and 1 medium central. And coming to calculation, average number of cells per square is equal to total number of cells by total squares. And dilution factor is final volume by volume of the cell. Concentration of the cells is equal to average number of cells by dilution factor. Okay, so remember these formulas. So when we teach the RBC count and WBC count, those are separate practicals. So in the coming tomorrow's or day after tomorrow's practical classes, we will teach you those practicals. So in that we will see the calculation part in detail. So applications of hemocytometer. For patients, for counting blood cells is the most common application or use of hemocytometer. For patients with abnormal blood cells where automated counters don't perform well. So for these abnormalities, we will be using the hemocytometer. Sperm count is also one use or application of hemocytometer, and then the cell culture. When subculturing or recording cell growth over the time, we can use this hemocytometer. And the sources of error. Moving cells such as sperm cells are difficult to count. So these cells first be immobilized. Okay, by using any dilution factor or any solution, we can immobilize them and then we can count. And the hemocytometer is much thicker than the regular slide. So be careful that you do not crash the objective into the hemocytometer when focusing. So this is one precaution while doing the cell counting. And handle the microscope very carefully, and while moving the objective up and down for focusing, we should be very careful. So all those precautions, so we will teach you when you come back to college and start doing the practicals. So that time we will teach you all the precautions. Possible errors in this process are two types: false high count and false low count. So when the false high count comes means when there is uneven distribution of cell which takes place by improper mixing or error in pipetting. And then error in calculation, that is I told you the counting the cells which are present on the borders. So that will lead to double counting of cells. Blood taken from area of hemo concentration. Concentration means more number of cells are present. So if suppose blood is taken from that hemo concentrated area, so that will lead to high count. Yeast, dirt and leukocyte are also sometimes counted as RBC. And false low count is seen in blood diluted with tissue fluid, and undue delay in counting of cells, and clumping of cells, and uneven distribution of cells, faulty technique of counting, improperly standardized counting chamber. Like this, various reasons for false low count are present. And next, coming to the osmotic fragility test. So first, the red cell. It is a flattened bilaterally intended sphere by concave disc. In fixed stained blood smears, it appears circular and with a diameter of about 7 to 8 micrometers and an area of central pallor. So, the shape or the appearance of the red blood cell in a stained smear is circular diameter and there will be central pallor. And the average value for mean cellular volume in normal subjects range from 80 to 100 femtoliters, and it is highly elastic and deformable. So the erythrocyte can pass through a vessel of about 3 micrometers in maximum diameter. Durability of red cell is remarkable. No nucleus to direct regenerative processes, and no mitochondria available for efficient oxidative metabolism, and no ribosomes for regeneration of lost or damaged proteins, and no de novo synthesis of lipid. But without all these also, the red cell is able to survive for 120 days. So did you get a doubt any time how the red blood cell survives without any these things for those 120 days. So if you are if you are having curiosity about this, find out the answer how the red cell is able to survive. Red cell membrane structure. Erythrocyte membrane that is normal in structure and function is essential to the survival of red cell. It accounts for cell's antigenic characteristics. It maintains stability and normal discoid shape of the cell. It preserves cell deformability and it retains selective permeability. So, before doing the test, we should know all those minor details or the basic details about the red cell membrane. So this osmotic fragility test is a measure of ability of red cells to take up the fluid without lysing. Okay, so it is a measure of ability of red cells to take up the fluid without lysing. So it is a test to measure the red blood cell resistance to hemolysis when exposed to a series of increasingly dilute saline solutions. Okay, so this test measures the red cell membrane resistance to hemolysis when exposed to a series of increasingly diluted saline solutions. Okay. The primary factor affecting the osmotic fragility test is the shape of red cell, which in turn depends on the volume, surface area and functional state of red blood cell membrane. So increased surface to volume ratio. In this condition, more resistant to hemolysis. Red blood cell will be more resistant to hemolysis and has decreased fragility. The larger the amount of red cell membrane or surface area in relation to size of the cell, the more fluid the cell is capable of absorbing before rupturing. So for example, iron deficiency anemia, thalassemia, sickle cell anemia and liver disease. So did you get this concept? Increase surface to volume ratio, that is larger the surface area in relation to size, the more fluid the cell is capable of absorbing. So this is seen in iron deficiency anemia, thalassemia and sickle cell anemia. And decreased surface to volume ratio, that is increased fragility, decreased resistance to lysis. It is found in hemolytic anemia. So in the name itself there is hemolysis. So the cell is easily fragile. Hereditary spherocytosis, this is a membrane defect, red cell membrane defect, and whenever the spherocytes are found. So the apparatus and materials for doing the osmotic fragility, we have two methods, tube method and slide method. So this method is most commonly done, but nowadays this osmotic fragility test is not done regularly. Okay, wood or metal test tube rack with 12 clean dry test tubes are taken and a glass marking pencil and glass dropper with a rubber teat. So these are the apparatus required, and along with that sterile swabs moist with alcohol and 2 ml syringe with needle, freshly prepared 1% sodium chloride solution and distilled water. Okay, so for slide method, these are the apparatus. And the procedure of tube method is number of test tubes from 1 to 12 with glass marking pencil and put them in the rack. So test tubes, on the test tube write these numbers and put them in the rack. Using the glass dropper, place the varying number of drops of 1% saline in each of the 12 test tubes, okay, as shown below. So these are the numbers, number of drops of 1% NaCl, and then number of drops of distilled water. Okay, so first put the drops of NaCl and then put the drops of distilled water as shown below. Okay, and after putting the sodium chloride and distilled water, the tonicity or the strength of this sodium chloride is in percentage will be like this. Okay, so draw 2 ml of blood from a suitable vein and gently eject 1 drop of blood into each of the 12 tubes. Mix the contents gently by placing a thumb over it. Leave the test tube undisturbed for few minutes and observe the extent of hemolysis in each tube by holding the rack at eye level with a white paper sheet behind it. So white background, keeping the rack at eye level, and observe the extent of hemolysis after few minutes. So tube 1 with normal saline and tube 12 with 0 saline and distilled water. These two will act as controls, and no hemolysis in normal saline and complete hemolysis in distilled water. So these two are the observations, because one is normal saline, no hemolysis, and why? Because normal saline is isotonic, and distilled water there will be complete hemolysis. The test tubes with no hemolysis has occurred, red cells will settle down and form a red dot mass, leaving the saline above clear. And some hemolysis, the saline tinged red with hemoglobin, with unruptured cells forming a red dot at the bottom. And the tubes with complete hemolysis, saline will be equally deep red with no red cells at the bottom of the tubes. And express the result in percentage saline. Hemolysis begins in this much percentage of saline, or the number of test tube, and hemolysis completes in this much percentage of saline. And this is the observation. Initial hemolysis for normal erythrocytes will begin at 0.45 plus or minus 0.05 percentage of sodium chloride. Okay, so see here 0.45. So here you can see the red dot below, and some hemolysis has started, and hemolysis will be completed 0.30 plus or minus 0.05%. So here it will be completed. So in hereditary spherocytosis, the hemolysis starts little early, 0.60. So this is the observation for tube method of osmotic fragility test. So these are the graphs for normal RBC fragility test. So middle two are the normal, and the left one is sickle cell thalassemia, and then the right one is hereditary spherocyte. So when red cells become more fragile, hemolysis may begin at 0.64 only. So like this, spherocytosis, and be complete about 0.44% saline. When red cells are less fragile, hemolysis starts and is completed lower strength of saline. Okay, lower strengths like sickle cell and thalassemia. Okay, so this is about the osmotic fragility test. I hope you understood. So you should know about this osmotic fragility, the method and the observation, how to express it. But this practical we are not going to do because of all those test tubes and saline mixing. So that is not done routinely nowadays. But hemocytometer, you should definitely remember those area and volume values, and then we should know about the pipettes, and then the Newbar slide, the counting grid area, and then we should know about the process of charging the chamber, that is putting the liquid, diluted liquid, into the Newbar's chamber and then focusing under the microscope, finally counting the cells and doing calculation. So counting the cells and doing calculation will be separate for RBC and WBC. So that will be a separate practical, RBC count and WBC count. So before going to that, we should know this hemocytometer. So that's all for today's class. I hope you understood. And if you are having the practical manual, any practical, CL Guy or Varshini or AK Jain, read from that practical manual. So yesterday's preparation of blood smear and today's class hemocytometer. That's all. Thank you all.